Welcome back, drawing buddies. This week we're gonna draw Hellboy from pencils to inks to colors. So if that sounds like a good way to spend 40-ish minutes, well, 30-something minutes, then let's draw. Yeah, I started with this rough that I forgot to record, and I pretty much erased almost all of it anyway and redraw it, so it doesn't really matter. But, yep, we're going to draw Hellboy. Now, Hellboy is one of those characters where his first appearance, some people think it's different things, but I mean, each of them came out in a certain order. So I guess his first official appearance would be in the Dime Press #4, and that was like an Italian release, and it came out in May in 1993. So that would be his official first appearance. He was like gray, and he wasn't red yet, and it was just like a preview thing. I don't know if there's a story or if it's just a pinup. I don't know. I never read it. Then there was San Diego Comic-Con #2. It's like an issue that Dark Horse did for San Diego Comic-Con, and Hellboy. I think it's just a pinup in there. And that was in August of '93. And then like his official first real comic book first appearance was in Next Men Faith. I think it's #2 or 3. Let me see. Let me look that up. Number 21, sorry. And that's his first comic appearance, and that's the one that I had, or have. I don't know. I gotta look. I don't know if I still have one. But yeah, so depending on how you look at it, his first actual comic appearance is Next Men 21, but he was in preview magazines before that for Comic Cons and stuff, so that's that. But the reason why I picked up Hellboy was because, one, Mike Mignola is freaking awesome, and I was checking him out well before then. He did some X Factor stuff and Cable. He did a really cool story for DC called Marvel's Cosmic Odyssey, not Marvel, DC called Cosmic Odyssey, and that's when he started to come into his own on his style. Because before then, he was kind of just trying to draw the standard superhero stuff because that's where the money was. And he started to get the more graphic, simplified look going around the Cosmic Odyssey time. And he also did some really great Batman stories. I forgot the issues, but they're pretty much sort of considered the first Hellboy stories, because like one of them, it takes place in the graveyard and it's all horror-based and mystical. But instead of Hellboy, you get Batman. And another Hellboy story that I really love is Hellboy Starman Batman, or Batman Starman Hellboy, or whatever the order is. And it's a DC crossover. But it's also kind of funny because I think in order to get the book published, they had to include Batman. But there's like issues where Batman's in like a panel and then he disappears and it's just Starman and Hellboy. So it's kind of funny the way they treated Batman as well, he has to be here, but we really just want to tell a Starman and Hellboy story. But it's Mike Mignola art, and it's beautiful, and you get to see him tackle some DC heroes and canon at that time. So it's a good read if you can find it. I mean, I'm sure it's on eBay. I don't think it's expensive. Probably a couple bucks each issue. And another great thing about Hellboy is his first official solo book, Hellboy: Seed of Destruction. It also had a backup story by an artist you hear me talk about all the time, named Arthur Adams. And he did his own creator book called Monkey Man and O'Brien. It's about a scientist, a girl. She is doing some kind of experiment. I think it was continuing her father's thing or whatever. And whatever machine she's doing, it's like a dimensional portal thing or whatever. It explodes. And in the explosion, there's a giant gorilla guy. Except the giant gorilla guy is really smart. And he can speak. And he's a scientist from his world. And another after effect of the explosion is O'Brien. I forgot her first name. I think it's Anne. I could be wrong. O'Brien. She starts to like grow and she gets really big and muscular. And together they go on cosmic adventures and superhero things. And they cross over with Gen 13. And it's really fun stuff. And I really wish Art Adams would do more of it. But I'm sure he probably won't anytime soon. But it would be great if he did. Also, I realize I'm talking kind of fast and rambling, and that's just because I'm sort of excited about the material. I love Hellboy. I love Monkey Man and O'Brien, but I haven't read it in a really long time. So I don't remember much about what happened in any of the Hellboy stories. But I did watch the two Well, did I watch the first one? No, I watched Hellboy, The Golden Army, and I watched one of the animated ones about a sword. It took place in Japan. So that was my research for this because I didn't really have time to read comics, which made me sad. But over the holidays, I'm going to read a bunch of comics. I want to read Absolute Batman, which we have a movie, well, not a movie. We have a video coming up for him. I want to read the Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, because I love the trailer and I'm excited for the movie. So that's where we're going with that. We also got a Harlequin video coming up. And I just finished drawing Toga and Twice from My Hero Academia to celebrate the closing out of the series, which means it probably should have came out last week because the series ended on Saturday. No spoilers. But I went all poster style with that, with the logo, and I put their names on it in a hard to read font, but that was kind of the point. It was just there to fill space and look cool. And the Harlequin drawing is really colorful too. And the Absolute Batman, my God. I had to draw him twice because the first time I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I had the shadows and the darkness. But I looked at him and he was like normal Batman size. I'm like, Absolute Batman is like a beast and he's huge. So I redrew him and I kept the dark and the grittiness and lots of my favorite little halftone dots. And yeah, we got a more massive cover kind of shot of him. It's not really as poster style, even though I did put the comic logo on it, so I felt like I drew a DC cover because it's really cool and dark and brooding, and he's on a ledge, and yeah, it's fun. I also did a cool moon thing, which I don't know if I included that in the video or not, how I did it, but it's cool. So yeah, that's what's coming up after Hellboy here, and yeah, so I got enough art done to get me through to the new year, which is also good because that'll give me time to play with this XP Pen tablet and the monitor and get the streaming thing started because I do want to start streaming in the new year because I keep talking about it and not doing it. And I also talked to a friend of mine about maybe doing like a podcast style thing where we just talk about random stuff, you know, comic stuff and things like that. And yeah, so it should be fun. It should be a good new year. And so stick around to find out all about that stuff. Because we'll be doing some new stuff then. So I hope you guys come along for that journey with me too. Because even though the views and everything are down, I don't know what the heck YouTube's doing. I don't understand algorithms. I'm too old and not smart to figure that stuff out. But we're going to keep doing the art videos. We're going to start a live stream. And we're going to start a talk show with a friend. That's going to be on his channel probably. And then afterwards, I might download it and upload it to this channel afterwards. We got to figure out all the logistics behind that. Because, again, I don't really do that stuff. So we'll figure it out. It's all new to me. I also realize that I'm talking pretty fast. I mentioned that a little earlier. Because I'm, 8 minutes into this video. And I probably could have stretched this out to 15 minutes. But I'm excited. Drawing Hellboy is fun. I love Hellboy. I love Mike Mignola's art. I watched the documentary on him. I think it's called I Draw Monsters. It was a while ago, though. I didn't watch it for this video. And that was a lot of fun because he talks about how, Mike Mignola, he talks about how, you know, he kind of broke into comics through inking because he was in New York City. And back then, you didn't have to go to conventions and try to get your stuff seen in a portfolio review or whatever. You could literally walk into the Marvel office with pages and talk to an editor. That must have been a good time back then. And what he would do is he knew some comic artists. So he would just hang out in the bullpen, because at the time Marvel had a bullpen where people would sit and draw. And he would wait for somebody to need work. And one day, he was lucky enough to, one of the editors, I forgot her name, she needed a story inked. It was a Defenders issue. So she gave it to Mike and said, all right, we need this in whatever amount of days. Can you do it? And he said, yes, I can. And he got it done. And I guess he did a terrible job. And he's like, the pencils to begin with weren't good. But my inks made bad pencils even worse. And he's like, I pretty much figured that was the end of me at Marvel Comics. But sometimes they just need a warm body to get the job done. So as luck would have it, they needed something else inked fast. And the lady gave him another book. She's like, listen, get this done, but do not screw it up like you did last time. Do it right. And he did, and he got it done. And then he started getting jobs doing pencils for like things like a Spider-Man annual and little things like that. Except he wasn't really comfortable drawing the superheroes. It wasn't his thing. It's not really what he wanted to do. He wanted to draw, the horror and the monsters and the stuff he was comfortable with. He didn't want to draw taxi cabs and cityscapes and Spider-Man. But slowly, he started to develop his own style. And like I said, in that DC Cosmic Odyssey, it's great. It's a big thing of all DC heroes trying to stop Darkseid, and Mignola draws a great Darkseid. He still is a more standard comic booky drawn back then, but he has, he starts putting in the blockiness, and the simplicity starts to leak its way in. And so he gets through that, and I'm telling you, pick that book up, Cosmic Odyssey. Great. And then he does that Batman story I talked about with, I gotta look that up. Pause. It was Batman Legends of the Dark Knight number 54. And that's pretty much where it all came together. The gothic, the graphic stuff. And basically, like I said, they almost consider that like the first Hellboy story, because that's where he kind of came into his own on that. And he also did Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which is an Elseworld story that takes place in Victorian New York. And, he's got the leather cowl and the stitched together mask. That's another great one. I definitely got a copy of that laying around somewhere. I got to read that again. So, yeah, he did some really cool stuff for DC before doing Hellboy. And when he did Hellboy, it wasn't super popular. A lot of people didn't read it. I did, because I was a comic nerd, and I loved Mike Mignola even before Hellboy. But, yeah, I guess it wasn't a big seller or a hit when they wanted to do the movie. So getting the movie made, Guillermo del Toro, the studios didn't want to do it, but they got him to do Blade 2, I think it was. And it was a huge hit and made a ton of money. So his next project, he got to do what he wanted to. And he decided, I want to do Hellboy. So Del Toro kind of forced it on the studio. And he made Hellboy. And he also had to fight, I guess, for Ron Perlman to be Hellboy. I forgot who the studio wanted, but they definitely didn't want him, because he's just more of a character actor and a background actor at that point. He wasn't really a lead, and he really still isn't. But, man, if he wasn't perfect for Hellboy in pretty much every role I've ever seen him in, I mean, the guy's great. And they also did the voiceovers for the cartoon I watched, the one with the sword. Had the whole cast of the movie. Doug Jones, Selma Blair, and Ron Perlman came back for the voices for that, so that was really cool. But my favorite of all Mike Mignola works is the Amazing Screw-On Head. It's just a one-shot that he did. He did it with no intention of ever doing a follow-up or a sequel. And I don't know how well the initial run sold, but I think I have like 4 or 5 copies, because I buy it every time I see it, because you could always find it for less than $10. I think the most I ever paid for one was $8. And it is awesome. It's just about the Amazing Screw-On Head. It's a head with a screw on the bottom, and it takes place in Abe Lincoln time, so 18 whatever. I think it's before the Civil War, or might be after, I don't know. But he handles the things that normal soldiers and normal police can't. So there's Dr. Zombie, or is it Mr. Zombie? I think it's Dr. Zombie. Oh, hold on. Pencils are done. Now it's time to ink Hellboy. And as you can see, he went nice and dark and moody, and went a little Mignola on it, so it has that flair, but I kept a little of myself in there. But, when you draw Hellboy, I kind of want the Mignola thing, so that's on me. I also didn't give him eyes until the very end, because I finished the whole thing, and his eyes were all blacked out, and then I'm looking at it, it's like, I think he needs eyes. So, like, when I started to do the banners and the stuff, the little pictures that are between the video, I said he needs eyes, so I cut the eyes in really quick in Photoshop, and I didn't film it, so the eyes come at the end. But back to Screw-On Head. So he handles the things, and so Dr. Zombie or Mr. Zombie or whatever, he's looking for an ancient artifact so he could rule the world by some ancient guy calling him Mr. or Master or whatever, Dung or whatever. And so Abe Lincoln calls him up, and it's a cool, like a screen. It's almost like a TV, but it's like flipping piece of wood, so the parts with his mouth move. It's really cool. And so Screw on Head needs a body, and I guess he has a room full of bodies, kind of like Iron Man. Oops, I hit the microphone. Kind of like Iron Man armors. I'm moving my hands while I'm talking about this because I'm excited. And so the head screws into body number 13 or 3 or whatever. And they go after Professor Zombie, I think it is. Yes, Professor Zombie. I could be wrong. I gotta look it up. I haven't read Screw on Head in a while. And, you know, shenanigans, and he has like a stuffed dog, but it's alive, and, you know, Professor Zombie, and he has an ex-girlfriend, not Professor Zombie, and Screw on Head has an ex-girlfriend who's kind of like a vampire. And she's working with Professor Zombie, and, oh, it's great. Now that's a comic that everybody should read. Even if you don't like horror comics. It's more of an adventure comic than a horror comic, though. You know, it's kind of like Indiana Jones in the 1800s, except Indiana Jones is a robot, and he's not an archaeologist. He's a defender of liberty for America. Except it's 1800s America. And this came out in, I don't know, mid-90s, late 90s? I have no idea. But not only do I have copies of the regular comic, I have the hardcover graphic novel. I used to have the artist edition, which was, you know, all the pages blown up full size and scans, and oh, that was great. But I had to pay rent 1 month, so I sold it because it was worth a lot of money. But I will get another one because that's a book I need to have. And also, last year? Was it last summer? I think it was. Me and a friend of mine, we went down to New York City. There was a gallery, and the gallery was having a Mike Mignola show. It was a bunch of his watercolors mostly, and they weren't big. They were mostly pretty small, you know, like even smaller than 8.5 by 11s. And my favorite one was a little watercolor, a Screw on Head. And I was talking to the gallery owner. It's a small gallery, and him and his assistant or whoever works there was there. And I was talking to them, and I said, "Oh, that one's great." And I asked them how much it was, and because everything was for sale. And they're like, "Oh, that one was only like, I think it was less than $3,000, which is a lot of money, and I couldn't afford it. So I didn't buy it. But even if I could have bought it, I couldn't have bought it because the gallery owner bought that one for his personal collection. So that guy had good taste. And not only did they have, you know, the watercolors and everything, like Screw on Head and, you know, other things, just random monsters and zombies and some Hellboy stuff. They had some comic pages and covers that he did. And one of them was a Rocketeer cover, or pinup. And not only do I love the Mike Mignola and Hellboy, but I love the Rocketeer too. If you watch the Captain America video from next week, I do a lot of talking about the Rocketeer because the director of the first Captain America movie, the first Avenger, also directed the Rocketeer movie for Disney. Although the Rocketeer comic is more adult than the movie is, so give that a read too if you get time. So yeah, the gallery owner bought it, and that kind of stunk. What didn't matter, I couldn't have bought it anyway. But they did actually have some affordable sketches that were in the hundreds of dollars. But again, I didn't have that kind of money on me to spend on art either. Because, you know, bills and family and fun stuff like that take precedent over fun things like Mike Mignola drawings. Sad but true. So if anybody has a Mike Mignola drawing they want to sell me cheap, leave a link in the comments below. Or just send me a message. So yeah, so that was one show. And then we walked around Chelsea, went to all the galleries, and checked out all the art down there. It was a good time. In fact, I got to do that again soon because I'm overdue. And then, years ago, I say and then a lot, don't I? Well, whatever. So, years ago, way before the pandemic, I'd say this was 10 years ago. And I think I've told this story before in non-Mike Mignola videos because I always talk about Mike Mignola. There was a show at the Society of Illustrators. No, it wasn't the Society of Illustrators. Was it? No, it wasn't. It was something similar to that, though. And me and same girl, Nikki, that I went to the show with that I was just talking about, another friend of mine, Adrian, the one who I talk about we go to the movies with, we decided to go check it out. And we got there early because we weren't sure what time it started at. And if there was a line, we didn't want to wait in it. So we got there like an hour and a half early. But they were still open. And, you know, we looked at the stuff they had on the first floor. It was more comic stuff. And it was like really serious and depressing comic stuff about, you know, wars and stuff. It was really, really good. I don't remember any of the artists because that's not what I was there for. And I asked the girl at the reception desk, I said, hey, what time does the Mike Mignola show start? Because we really came here to check that out. And she's like, oh, it starts at like 7:30. And I think it was 6 o'clock or 6:30 by that time. It's like, but if you want, you guys could go up now and check it out. So I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So we went up to see the Mignola show. And it was just walls lined with his original artwork for all the amazing screw-on heads that he had. And then there was a Hellboy hallway. And oh, it was beautiful. And there was so much art. And then since we were early, somebody who was up there in the exhibit, who was, you know, getting things ready for the opening, said, hey, we are having a reception that Mike Mignola is going to be at upstairs. And there's going to be a buffet. And since you guys are here, if you want to go up there and check that out, you're welcome to go. We're like, really? We're like, awesome. So we went up there, and it's like this little dining room with a bar. And it had some, you know, glass cases with like cool comic stuff in it. Like it had some Iron Giant toys and things and memorabilia. But it was a really serious looking place. So it's kind of weird that stuff was in there. And it had like a pasta buffet, you know, and it was all free, except, well, you had to pay for drinks. But the food was just buffet style. So we sat at a table, we had some stuff, and Mike Mignola came in. And I wish I knew we were going to get into that because, you know, there were some people who were there and they brought books and he signed them and everything. I didn't even really talk to him. I think I just like shook his hand and said, you know, this is awesome. It's great to meet you and see all this stuff. And that was pretty much my interaction with Mike Mignola. But yeah, that was awesome. I bought a little pin, an amazing screw-on head pin. I lost it. I have no idea where it is. So yeah, I got to meet Mike Mignola that day, and we got to see the exhibit early, and we got to go to the reception, and it was a good time because we had no right being at any of that. But it's just like, yeah, we just happened to be there at the right time, and they let us in. So that was really cool. At the rate I'm going, I'm not even going to get to talk about the movies because I'm just rambling on about Mike Mignola in general. This is a good video. When I pushed the record, I'm like, I don't know if I know enough about Mike Mignola to fill a video, even with watching the movies. And here we are. So, cool. There's also a time at New York Comic Con where there's a book called Baltimore, and he did like art for it. Like there's book plates in it, you know, like be like one head or something, or a cover. And they did a thing where he did a signing with the author, and they gave out these giant black and white posters. You got 3 of them, and it was all Mike Mignola art. And again, I don't know where they are. I put them in a tube, and I moved 3 times, and I never framed them. And I think they're lost to time. But man, those were awesome. I wish I still had one. And I didn't sell them. That's a plus for me. So I got to talk to him there for a minute at New York Comic Con when he was signing the posters. And then I finally got to go to San Diego Comic Con for the one and only time I've been there. In 2017, I think it was. A friend of mine couldn't go because something happened. And he's like, you want my ticket? And you could stay in the room with the kid I was going to stay with. You just have to pick me up a couple things I wanted. And, you know, don't worry about anything else. Well, I'm not going to say no to going to New York Comic Con. Not New York Comic, San Diego Comic Con. Basically for free. I had to buy plane tickets and stuff. But, you know, I didn't have to buy a ticket. I didn't have to pay for a hotel room. I just got to go and have a good time, and that was great. And Mike Mignola was there, and I talked to him again. And I bought a print off of him. And I tried to get him to do a remark on it, just a tiny little head. I'm like, anything, I don't care. I should have brought up all the other stuff when I met him and stuff. It might have helped, because sometimes getting personal with creators and stroking their ego usually works. But yeah, he said he wasn't there to do sketches. But then the friend of mine who I was staying with, he had a Artist Alley table. He's really good. I won't give his name, so I don't know if he wants to get doxxed or not. But he has met Mike Mignola before, and more of a professional basis. And he actually got him to draw a little remark for him, and I was so upset and so jealous. Like, oh, you suck, man. But, you know, that's how it works. He was in the industry and I wasn't, so. No Mike Mignola sketch for me. Another funny thing there has nothing to do with Mike Mignola. I didn't go there to try to be an artist. I didn't bring a portfolio. All I had was my phone with me. iPhone whatever from 2017. And one of the nights, the guy I went with, he said he was going to meet up with some artist friends and do a thing they do every year. And he's like, do you want to come? And I'm like, nah, you know what? You go spend time with your friends. That's your thing. That's your annual whatever. You know, I'm just going to walk around San Diego and check it out. And I ended up in this sushi place. And I sat down next to a couple at the sushi bar. And the guy asked me, he was an older gentleman, older than me, and I'm not young. He's like, are you here for the Comic-Con? I said, yep, I'm one of them. How about you? He's like, oh, yeah. And it turns out that guy was the publisher for Titan Comics. They do the Doctor Who books, and I don't know what else they do, but they do other stuff. And he's also the guy who started 2000 AD in England. That started Judge Dredd, and it got Simon Bisley and Brian Boland and all those people their starts. And he was with his wife. So I was talking to this guy for a while because we were having dinner together, basically. And he's like, are you an artist? I said, yeah, but I didn't bring a portfolio. I didn't bring any cards. I wasn't expecting to talk about art, and I definitely wasn't expecting to meet you. And he's like, well, what, you got anything you show me? I said, I got some stuff on Instagram. So I opened up my Instagram, and I showed him some of the fairies I drew and everything. And he liked the drawings. He didn't like the way I drew faces, but he really liked my inking. And he mentioned, maybe, stop by, find me, and, we'll talk about maybe doing some inks. And I could not find him at the show. I mean, I found the booth, but he was never there. Nobody knew when he was going to be there. And since I didn't go there expecting to try to find work and bring a portfolio, I didn't give him anything when we had dinner, so he had no way of knowing who I was outside of that. So I totally blew my chance to, at the very least, be an inker at Titan Comics. So, Mr. Publisher, I don't know your name or remember your name. If you're watching this, DM me, send me a message. I will ink comics for you. But, yeah, so. Not Mike Mignola's story, but it's sort of related because, we're at the same San Diego Comic-Con and that happened. Also, if you hear cats meowing or a whirring noise in the background, my downstairs neighbors decided it was a good idea to move their cat room. Yes, they have cats, and their cats have their own room. How's that for crazy cat lady, even though she's married? It's my sister. We have a 3-family house and we all live in it. But she moved the cats right underneath where I do all this recording. And the cats could get a little loud. So you might hear them. Like I hear them meowing every once in a while when I pause the video or stop to take a drink because even though the sick is gone, my throat is still a little agitated but getting better. So I do cut in and out every once in a while with the voice, but everything's going better. Oh, the inks are done. Now it's time to color Hellboy. And I kind of went fairly simple with the colors. I didn't do any cell shading or any of the stuff I normally do. I just went with slate gradients because I was looking at how they color Hellboy. And that's pretty much what they do. They're even more subtle than I went. And the whole point behind drawing Hellboy here is keeping it simple and just the beauty of the simplicity, which is what Mike Mignola is a master at. And I try to aspire to that, but, I fail. Like, if you look at the Hand of Doom, I put the little squiggly lines in and things like that, and stuff that Mike Mignola would not do, although I did a lot of things that he would do, but that stuff comes to him naturally. That's just who he is. I'm just kind of like a pretender, but it was fun. And I would like to incorporate more of this into how I normally draw things, but I don't know. I'm in this weird flux right now where drawing these videos kind of gave me a bit of an identity crisis. Like, I want to draw, like standard superhero stuff the way I normally draw things, but the other hand, I'm kind of enjoying when I draw an anime thing, and because I always drew things with big eyes and buggy, and I kind of tried to tone that down to be more normal. And so I got the big eye thing going. And then, I love guys like Mike Mignola, and I want to bring that simplicity in because I love the look. But then again, I also love people like Art Adams, and that's all detail. And I don't know where I fit into all that, where my drawings go or where I should go. I definitely think that I have a little bit of my own thing going on, but I'm not sure what that is. Like the absolute Batman, that's I would think that's more me, definitely. But I went back to small, normal-sized eyes on that one because you can't draw absolute Batman with big old buggy anime eyes, or if you could, I haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, you see here are the colors. I'm just taking it and putting in a gradient over the solid color, and that's how we color Hellboy for this one. I don't do any hard edge shadings. I don't shade them down the middle like the toga drawing coming up or some of the other ones I did. I just go with the slight gradients and leave it at that. I kind of wanted to put like Mike Mignola type architecture in this one, but I did some sketches to it off camera, I guess we'll call it, and I didn't like the way that I was drawing this stuff. It looked too normal and too regular comic booky to fit the Mike Mignola thing, so we just went with his other trope where he just puts a big slash of a color or white behind the character to frame him. So, but I did kind of do it in a way where it ended up looking like wings, because Hellboy is the king of hell, basically. And I just thought it was a good look, so I went with it. It's also similar to the background I used on the Bride of Frankenstein. That's it, Bride of Frankenstein that I drew. And I drew that right after I watched the Mignola documentary. And I did a couple off-camera sketches of the Bride of Frankenstein that were much more Mignola looking, but I didn't use those because I had a vision of what I wanted her to look like, and I stuck to it. So yeah, it looks like I'm not really going to talk about the Hellboy movie I watched, The Golden Army, or the cartoon, because we're almost done with this video, so I'd have to be really short and sweet about it. But I did wanted to mention that before I started this channel, I was in an art rut, we'll call it, and I wasn't drawing much at all, like very, very little. I might do a couple sketch covers if I had a convention coming up, but I wasn't doing anything new for prints. And there is a guy at some of the comic shows that I go to on a monthly basis. He's always there, and he publishes these little mini books, and I'll ask him if it's okay to talk about it in another video, because, I don't want to dox him either. But he just randomly asked me to draw a cover for him for his book. They're like half-size comics. They're really cool. And they're kind of like a Conan the Barbarian thing, except his daughter is the protagonist, the hero, and he's kind of like the sidekick. He loves Conan. I am not a big Conan fan, so I kind of bust his chops about it all the time. But yeah, he just randomly asked me to draw a cover of his character as a zombie. And he just got the copies a couple weeks ago and gave me a couple of them. They really had to crop in on my cover because I drew it the size I draw these, because I didn't know the dimensions of the book. So yeah, they had to crop a lot of it out to make it fit. But I did the whole full body shot. I had a tree, a really nice tree. The tree took longer to draw than anything else. I put a lot of bark lines in detail, and I hid him in the background, and yeah, so it was nice, and I got a couple copies, and I'll find out if there's anywhere you can buy them online or anything, and I'll put a link in the next video and mention it again. But yeah, Hellboy is pretty much done. I'm putting my signature on the bottom. Like I said, I didn't record that in his eyes. That was kind of like an afterthought at the end, because I just didn't like the look with all the black. So, oops on me there. But the eyes definitely did help this drawing and definitely added to the look of it being finished. So here I just threw in the picture with the black background so you can see with the eyes. But that's it. We are done drawing Hellboy. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about Mike Mignola for 30-something minutes. And like and subscribe and follow and all that fun stuff. And I'll see you all next week. And go out and draw something. And thanks for hanging out.